Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It is the Awards Whisperers. We are back for another season of incredible awards predictions and discussion and analysis. I'm John.
I'm Cesco.
And what a year we have brewing for us. We have Demi Moore in the Substance. We have Maria Perez. We have Pamela Anderson somehow in the conversation. We have Isabella Rossellini getting her Isabella Oscarlini nomination, maybe. We have the return of Marianne Jean-Baptiste. We have Fernanda Montenegro at 95, perhaps, possibly. We have June Squibb, we love June. We have men doing things that we don't care about because they're men. But we're excited to get started. We're going to talk about the Gothams first, but before we even do that, Cesco, how are you feeling about the state of the race mid-November?
I think it's nice that it's so fluid. I think we were talking yesterday about the fact that there's like no clear favor in a bunch of these categories, which is my favorite type of year. It makes predicting harder, but then it makes it more fun the night of to try and figure out what's going to happen. I just want to say that, first of all, you met June Squibb, and I met Gothams. And we should talk about that. Because now you're June Squibb's pool boy, and I'm like Glenn Close's unofficial biographer. We'll just go with that.
I'm thinking of rebranding as the world's strongest June Squibb fan. I feel like no one is stronger than me. Who's also a June Squibb fan. Anyway, she's amazing. I went to her birthday party. She's gorgeous and lovely and kind, and her friends are lovely and kind, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful night. And you saw Glenn very recently.
I got myself a ticket for the North American premiere of her latest film, The Summer Book. And I just went into the theater, sat down, and then decided I needed to go to the bathroom. And I got up, and on my way to the bathroom, I happened to walk by the red carpet, and she was right there. And so I think for 10 minutes, I was just standing in front of her, like right in front of her, crying and vomiting and taking pictures. And then I watched the movie with her. She was sitting 2 rows in front of me. I was just looking at the back of her head the entire time. And then I stole her seat sign that said that this seat is reserved for Glenn Close, and then I framed it on my wall.
Amazing. I feel like I don't know what the universe has given us, but I feel like having those kind of parallel experiences, it's a good sign. It's a very good sign.
I think so. Good things to come.
Good things to come, and I can't wait to see Summer Book. I'm not sure what
I really loved it. I think I gave it 5 stars on Letterboxd. I think it's more of a 4-star movie, but I just need to make this happen.
And real quick, do you know what the latest is on any kind of release for it? Is it? I'm assuming next year, but
so probably next year. I think it's opening in, I want to say, Finland, maybe Scandinavia in January. I'm assuming probably it's kind of like a winter movie, so I feel like when it gets bought in terms of like distribution stateside, that it might be like a fall release, but we'll see.
It seems ideal for many reasons for a fall release. So
like late summer, like early fall. Clearly it takes place during the summer, but it takes place in a location that's just cold and kind of like wintry. So
anyway, I'm very excited to hear. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about that next season. But let's get into this season because it's about to start. Like all the Critics Awards are going to start flooding in, and we've already had one. We've had the Gotham Awards, which are the kind of quixotic. They're sort of like they're whatever you read into them. They're whatever you want them to be. But I think they're instructive, and they can definitely kind of help set some of the parameters for the season.
Yeah.
So I was just going to go through the supporting performance nominees, the lead performance nominees. We can maybe even look at the feature.
Yeah.
And any other categories that stand out. So for the supporting performance, because Gotham does one category for all supporting performances, the nominees are our king, hero, legend, Yura Borisov for Anora, Kieran Culkin, A Real Pain, Daniel Deadweiler, The Piano Lesson, Bridget Lundy Payne for I Saw the TV Glow, Natasha Lyonne for His Three Daughters, Clarence Macklin for Sing Sing, Katie O'Brien for Love Lies Bleeding, Guy Pearce for The Brutalist, Adam Pearson for A Different Man, and Brian Tyree Henry for The Fire Inside. So any immediate thoughts on that list?
Lots of variety, which I like. I like that Adam Pearson got nominated. I haven't read a lot about A Different Man, but I'm kind of curious to see how that, like, I guess the plot line is kind of like handled. Obviously, I think there's a glaring omission. I think ostensibly the most sure shot, I think, Oscar prediction at this point is that Zoe Saldana will win supporting actress, and she's not nominated. I think there were issues in terms of eligibility for Emilia Perez, but I might be wrong. I think he was definitely at least eligible for foreign film.
International feature is All We Imagine Is Light, Green Border, Hard Truths, Inside the Yellow Cocoon Shell, and Vermiglio.
Yeah. So I guess did it get blanked completely?
I think it may have gotten blanked. No, Emilia.
Okay, so actually the explanation on that line, a number of international films like Maria and Emilia Perez and The Substance weren't eligible for Best Feature nominations, although open to other categories. So it got blanked, essentially, although it wasn't eligible for like the Best Picture award. I find that very puzzling in terms of what we know of the movie and the fact that I think alongside The Brutalist, alongside Anora, it's ostensibly one of the higher profile movies in terms of awards this season. I'm not really sure what happened. I'm not really sure what happened. It could just be a case of like people didn't like it, but it seems bizarre that it got blanked, especially the performances.
Yeah, I think Emilia Perez, what I'm starting to notice is the reviews were good, but not effusive.
Yeah.
And the audience scores that I've seen are like, it's a 7.
Yeah.
Like what makes me think is it's not going to be the juggernaut that maybe people thought it was coming out of Cannes. I think it will do decently well, but I think we can take it out of Best Picture, winning Best Picture, for example. I think Zoe Saldana is probably its best chance right now for anything, despite not getting seen here at the Gothams.
I think it was always going to be like a hard sell, as most like queer inflected movies are at the Oscars. I'm just a little surprised that it got really no mentions here whatsoever. I still think that the Globes are going to come in and rescue it. Is it I think going for musical and like comedy, or is it going for drama?
I'm pretty sure it's going to musical comedy. I think that's
I think it's definitely showing up there.
Yeah.
And I think the nominations in terms of the Globes tend to be a little more open to, like, movies that maybe critics don't really rally around. But yeah, I'm kind of like, I put like a little flag next to it in terms of like, I'm not really sure what's going to happen.
Right. A couple of, I think, things that I drew from this supporting list is that it was several people that I expected to see, like Guy Pearce and Daniel Deadweiler and Kieran Culkin. Yura Borisov, I'm very happy is there. I think we'll talk about this when we get to supporting actor later, but I don't think the Anora domination that people are expecting can happen without him being brought along. One interesting thing I noticed is that there was no Joan Chen for Dee Dee. Isaac Lang got in for breakthrough performer, but there was no Joan Chen for Dee Dee. And one other thing I wanted to point out, Katie O'Brien is, I think, an interesting element in this awards race. We'll talk about this more when we get to supporting actress predictions, but since it's such a wide open category, I think she is someone that we could see more than we expect based on the reviews of her performance, particularly like that she's like the star of Love Lies Bleeding.
Yeah.
Like she's the breakout star of that. So I think she could potentially show up more. I'm not saying she's going to get in the final 5, but I think she could be more of a factor than people are expecting. I'm curious about things like A Different Man and Sing Sing. We'll talk about this more when we get into like best picture predictions. And I feel like there's right now in the race, I'm kind of jumping ahead, but in the race, there's like the few juggernauts that people are predicting. And there's this large swath of kind of smaller dramas or smaller straightforward dramas that could go either way. Like they could catch on, or they could just kind of dissipate into nothing. So I'm curious to see things like how much ground Sing Sing and A Different Man and Baby Girl and what's the Timothy Chalamet, Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Like how much my dog has opinions right now. But how much those things can get traction.
Yeah. I think a big tell will be the Spirit Awards probably for smaller movies. And I get screeners for that because I vote for them. So yay. I'm just kind of curious to see. I don't vote for nominations though, so I have no like insight in terms of like what's going on with that at the moment.
The other thing I know that is there were no Nickel Boys performers outside of the Breakthrough nomination for Brandon Wilson.
Yeah.
So Nickel Boys is another film that I feel pretty strongly will do well, but it's also a bit of an enigma to me.
Yeah, I don't really know what to make of it. It got nominated for Best Feature. So clearly people loved it. I don't know if it's one of those movies where I guess there's an ensemble component that makes it hard to single like one specific performance out of the bunch, because I haven't seen it. So I'm really not sure at this time how to place it outside of Best Picture.
Yeah, and from what I've read about it, it has a bit of a more experimental feel, which could help it in terms of the Critics Awards, but it might be a harder sell when it comes to the televised awards. But let's move on to lead performance. The list for lead performance was Pamela Anderson, The Last Showgirl, Adrian Brody, The Brutalist, Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing, Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Hard Truths, Nicole Kidman, Baby Girl, Keith Kupferer for Ghostlight, Mikey Madison for Anora, Demi Moore for The Substance, Saoirse Ronan for Outrun, and Justice Smith for I Saw the TV Glow. Thoughts on that list?
Yeah, again, with the absence of the Emilia Perez cast, I think this is a compilation of people that we'll see come up again with critics and then with the industry awards. Not all of them, but I think Adrian Brody, to an extent, Domingo and Marianne Jean-Baptiste, Nicole Kidman, Mikey Madison, even Demi Moore and Saoirse Ronan, I think, are in the conversation for actual Oscar nominations. So definitely bodes well. I couldn't tell you who's going to win, honestly. Maybe Madison or Brody, but I'm really not sure.
Yeah, the Gothams can be very random with their winners. So really, I think there's about 5 people on here that could theoretically very feasibly walk away with it.
Yeah,
I would lean toward, if I had to pick one, Mikey Madison, just from where the conversation is right now. But again, they're their own. I mean, this is like 5. How many people are in Gotham? Like 5 people.
Just about.
Yeah, they're a very unique and distinctive, and however they feel they could go many different ways. The one things I took away from this is that Marianne Jean-Baptiste is definitely back for an award season. I don't know how far she'll be able to go, but I feel bullish on her, and I'll explain more when we get to our best actress predictions. I feel very bullish on Demi Moore for The Substance, just because of all of the buzz and the press that have come from her movie and how much of a kind of the memification of it and everything. And plus, it's a great comeback story. And then Pamela Anderson, I think, is fascinating. I don't expect her to be in the final 5.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think this verifies the idea that she's at least in the conversation. She's probably 10th, 11th at this point, because it is a real crowded year in Best Actress, but it's not a fever dream. Like, Pamela Anderson is an awards contender.
Yeah. Our mom, Eric, from Awards Watch, saw the movie and didn't like it. And didn't like her also in it. So there's that. I've read other reviews that are more enthusiastic. So I was expecting this to be divisive in terms of both the movie and her performance. I just think that even just entertaining the notion that Pamela Anderson become like an Oscar nominee is fascinating, and I would love for that to happen because I do love her. So
towards her too. Again, it's a crowded year in that category, so I think the chances are slim. But this just proves that, like, the fact that we've even been entertaining that idea before this, like, it's valid. Like, she did put a performance that's going to, I think, show up here at least in a couple places in this award season. And then I think Nicole Kidman is in great shape. Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing. Sing Sing is something that's been really, I've gone back and forth on about its viability.
Really weird. Yeah.
It doesn't sound like there's been much about it, much talk about it, and it came out in July. It didn't make very much money at the box office. It was kind of quickly ushered to streaming, but it got really good reviews, and Coleman Domingo's kind of hot right now, so it could go either way.
The sense that I was getting before it got released was that this was going to be the Best Picture winner, and that's how people were talking about it, and then it opened, and can we say it kind of flopped? It got routed to streaming like really quickly, and just people are not talking about it, which is, I think, the most concerning thing, because we've seen like other box office flops get Oscar nominations, but generally there was buzz or some kind of discourse around them, and I don't see that here, which is a shame because it is ostensibly a really great movie. There's a great story behind it with Clarence Macklin. So I don't know. This needs to be like rescued by the critics, and maybe get like one specific association that really puts it on the map.
I think it made $3 million at the box office and kind of just came and went without much fanfare. So it could be one of those films that Domingo can sneak through in a nomination, and maybe a screenplay or Clarence Macklin in supporting. Like, there's options for it, but I don't think it's going to be a juggernaut by any means.
Yeah. Did you see it?
I have not seen it yet. I need to see it.
Yeah.
The one noticeable absence for me for lead performance, just because it got several, I think it got 2 other nominations, was Julianne Nicholson for Janet Planet. Which, in my opinion, she's actually the supporting performance in that movie, but I know she's campaigned lead. So I just wanted to, if we're talking omissions on this list, that's one that stuck out to me.
Yeah, she's gonna probably come back for The Spirits. That's my
that's like the most spirit film that's ever spirited.
Yeah.
Planet. It's a good movie. I liked it.
Oh, you saw it? Okay. Yeah. No, I haven't seen it yet. I'm just really happy also about Nicole Kidman in general. I think every year where she's in the conversation is a good year. And Baby Girl got a Best Picture nomination here, which is kind of random, but also kind of fascinating. So, and also she won the Volpi Cup in Venice.
That's
right.
So
that I think the Volpi Cup for Best Actress is a pretty strong track record in terms of converting to Oscar nominations, even Oscar wins. So I think this bodes really well.
Yeah, and she's Nicole Kidman winning the Volpi Cup, not like an unknown winning the Volpi Cup. Like, she was an unknown, but like definitely a much newer actress.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the 5 they picked for Best Picture, by the way, real quick. They picked Anora, Baby Girl, Challengers, A Different Man, and Nickel Boys.
I'm not a Challengers fan at all. I didn't get it. I find its appeal baffling, outside of clearly, the gay angle of it. But yeah. I think this is probably Anora's to lose.
Yeah, this feels like an Anora win.
Yeah.
That was my question for you coming out of this list was, what do we think the actual awards viability of challengers is? I don't think it's very high. I could see a screenplay nomination,
Sure.
but otherwise, I don't think it's going to be much of a challenger.
I just don't feel like it's a good movie. So it's hard in terms of like awards potential to decide. It's competitive here. I think, as you said, screenplay could happen. I think some below the line nominations could happen, but in terms of like the big ones, I don't see it.
And just for context, last year's Best Feature nominees were Past Lives, Passages, Reality, Showing Up, 1001.
Yeah.
So Past Lives won. I think it was the only one on that list to get a Best Picture nominee, but also Past Lives, I think, was very much underperformed at the Oscars.
But also, yeah, as I was going to say, it sneaked in probably like a 9 or 10.
The Gothams are to be taken with a grain of salt. They're kind of, again, what you see what you want to see in them. You can make any kind of narrative that you want from them, depending on the year, because sometimes they're a little more spot on, sometimes they're way off in left field. This year, I feel like they're going to be a little more spot on based on just the list that we've gone over, but we'll see.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, especially in terms of the acting nods, there's going to be people that we're going to keep talking about and people that are going to keep showing up other places. In terms of picture, I would say probably, Anora, I think we're sold on that, but the others, not sure.
Yeah, there's a lot that can change.
Yeah.
So let's pivot from Gotham's and go into our we'll call it the pre-awards rush nominees, or pre-awards rush predictions.
This is where all predictions are valid and we can get really messy, and it's fine because we don't know anything yet.
We're just going off vibes. But I think there's some trends that are already becoming clear, and some sure things in terms of nominations, and some other ones that are likely. So we're going to do all the above the line categories. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Adapted screenplay.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I'll go first. I have a list of 10, but I think currently the ones that I'm predicting to actually get nominated, I'm Still Here, The Room Next Door, Conclave, Emilia Perez, and I guess at this point I'll say Nickel Boys, but I'm not 100% sold on that.
We have 3 of the 5 right now. Mm-hmm. So I also have Conclave, Emilia Perez, Nickel Boys. I have Sing Sing,
mm-hmm.
and I also have Dune 2.
Okay.
Which was Dune got a adapted nomination last time.
Yeah.
And I expect Dune 2 to be around the same amount of nominations as the original. So
part of me is also terrified that Gladiator 2 might actually get nominated here. It is in the conversation for sure, but I don't have it in yet. Yeah,
I was about to go bullish on Gladiator 2, and then I read that there's a scene where I think Denzel Washington reads a newspaper.
Oh.
And I was like, which is like the newspaper wasn't invented until like 1500 years after. So I was
how's that contextualized? He's just like there lounging and reading a newspaper?
Drinking tea and reading a newspaper, apparently. So I was like, oh, this isn't a serious movie.
I mean, we knew that all along, but yeah.
So I think it will show up in some categories, but I don't think it's going to be a work of art that will translate to, I think, a category like screenplay. Any other contenders that you're keeping an eye on in that category?
In terms of things that I have on the list, I have obviously Sing Sing as well. I also have A Complete Unknown, just because I expect it to do well with critics. Inside Out 2 is I think also part of the conversation. I don't know. How do you feel about the piano lesson?
The piano lesson outside of Daniel Deadweiler is a real enigma to me right now.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't heard much about it or seen much about it.
Yeah.
And I think its release date is pretty late. I could be wrong, but I think it's like end of December, which to me always gives me pause because a lot of times that's too late to create the infrastructure for a campaign that you need. Yeah. But if it has the reviews, I think it could definitely be one to watch out for.
And also, I guess if they get really creative, I also have The Wild Robot in my list.
Yeah, I was thinking The Wild Robot has the edge over Inside Out too.
Okay.
Just based on the response to The Wild Robot, it has really great reviews and audience scores, but
much stronger. Yeah.
But Inside Out 2 has the pedigree and it's
the profile. Yeah.
Right. Let's go to original screenplay. I'll go first. Right now I have Anora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, and Hard Truths.
Okay. I have 4 of the 5.
Ooh.
I don't have Sacred Fig in. I have The Substance.
Yes, I didn't want to jinx it, but I really hope it gets in.
It just feels like one of those movies that I'm not really sold on the fact that it's going to get supporting actress, director, picture. People are a lot more optimistic about that than I am, but it feels like a screenplay nominee kind of movie.
Yeah, and I could see it as a nod to the director Coralie Fargier, or however you say her last name. They do love a cunty French writer.
We all do.
Yeah.
What else do I have here? I also included Blitz as a possibility. Saturday Night, Baby Girl, Challengers, kind of like outside of my top 10, but it's in there.
Yeah.
Maria is also in there. And what else? Oh, I put in Civil War just because of, the state of the world. So that might be a movie that resonates with voters. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think Anora and The Brutalist are pretty locked.
Yeah.
A Real Pain I feel really, really, really strongly about. I think it's going to do well. And it feels like with Jesse Eisenberg being the writer, like it'll have the screenplay will have a higher profile in the awards conversation. I'm expecting The Seed of the Sacred Fig to be the kind of the
surprise foreign.
Yeah, it's going to be the foreign film that people rally around this year. So I think that, and we often see a foreign film get a screenplay nomination.
Yeah.
Especially if it's in the conversation for director and picture. And then Hard Truths, just the track record of Mike Leigh in the screenplay categories. If Marianne Jean-Baptiste is as much in the conversation as I think she is, generally when Mike Leigh's films get nominated somewhere at the Oscars, he also gets nominated in the screenplay category. So that's
I'd say even if she doesn't make it in, I feel like I'm pretty confident that the screenplay nod is going to happen. When there's like a Mike Leigh movie that's well received, it's just almost assured to me that it's getting in screenplay.
Yeah. Especially since I don't think there's going to be room for him in director. So
yeah,
I think they will, as they've done in the past with him multiple times, give him this explanation.
They love him, and as I said, almost always like a guarantee that he gets in.
Fantastic. So those are the screenplay categories as they are right now. Do you want to do supporting actor or supporting actress next?
Let's do supporting actress.
All right. I think it's your turn to share your predictions first.
I have Zoe Saldana. And that's it's tough for me to at this stage to really wrap my head around this. I have Saldana, I have Felicity Jones, I have Saoirse Ronan, I have Isabella Rossellini, and then my hope diction is that Fernanda Montenegro makes it in. And at this stage, we're operating just on, hopes and dreams. So also, I want to say that the second Glenn Close gets like a passing mention from like the South Piscataway Critics Association, I'm putting her in. Because the deliverance happened and everybody talked about it, and regardless of what you think of the movie, she's fucking great in it. So yeah,
I fully support that, and I think you're right too if that happens. So my list is Zoe Saldana, I have Danielle Deadweiler for The Piano Lesson, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, I have Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, and then I'm putting Margaret Qualley for The Substance in, and that's because I'm very bullish on The Substance. Of course, I didn't put her in The Substance in screenplay, but because supporting actress, I feel like is a much wider open category, and there's not a lot of performances that I'm seeing that are gathering a lot of buzz, and I feel like she had or has had a lot of chatter about her, along with all the memifications of the film and the whole like people dressing up as Eliza Sue for Halloween. Like there's her performance is on people's minds. The way that Glenn Close's was on people's minds when it came out.
Yeah. I will say that Qualley in terms of getting in, they're really co-leads.
Yeah.
And I think that does help. It certainly helps Saldana, who's really the lead in Emilia Perez, but not the title character for whatever reason. So that I think she's got that going for her. I just really don't know how people will react to The Substance in terms of like industry awards, because I can see it do really well with critics, but then I'm not sure in terms of like people that vote for the Oscars that are going to sit in front of it and be like, what is this?
Right.
Yeah.
It could. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It could kind of falter once it gets to the larger groups. But I'm bullish on it for now. And then interestingly, on the other end of that spectrum, so we have two basically leads that we're predicting, Zoe Saldana and Margaret Qualley. Or I'm predicting. But then Isabella Rossellini apparently has like 7 minutes of screen time.
She has one big scene, apparently.
Yeah. So I still feel strongly that she's in the top tier right now, just because one, Conclave is going to be a big player. It might win Best Picture. I fully expect it to get at least one or two other acting nominations. And Isabella Rossellini is kind of a legend. She's the daughter of a 3-time Oscar winner, right?
Never been nominated.
She's beloved. I think it's very easy for me to see a way where she gets brought along with the Conclave wave. And her 7 minutes is enough to get her nominated.
Yeah, I think on the one hand, what the pros are that, first of all, the Oscars love a nun. They do. Someone who's never been nominated before and a major player in other categories. I think the issue is really this is like a coattails performance, probably, though it's predicated upon how well the movie does overall. Mm-hmm. In terms of screen time, I think 7 minutes is not ideal, but people have gotten in for short performances. So I have her, I think, in at this point with a little question mark next to her.
Yeah.
But
and it would feel to me like a Ruby D American Gangster type nomination.
Yeah.
In a way. And then I'm comfortable with Felicity Jones and The Brutalist right now, because again, they love to nominate. It's the Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer nomination, right? Like you're fine in a movie that's going to get a lot of other nominations, and you're the
long-suffering wife. Yeah,
the long-suffering wife of this genius guy that we're profiling, this disturbed genius, right? So that to me is all the classic hallmarks of a nomination.
Yeah.
Saoirse running for the Blitz or for Blitz, I absolutely could see. I feel like people were a bit like, about the film.
Yeah.
But again, this category is, I feel like people are very about this category. There's not a lot of performances that I think people are excited about or really buzzing about.
Yeah.
We have Saldana, who's again a lead, but she'll be in supporting. Anjanou Ellis Taylor.
We're assuming that she's going to be in supporting because the Oscars could easily shove her in lead.
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
The placements could change for sure.
They can do whatever they want. So yeah.
But other possible nominees like Anjanou Ellis Taylor, I've read is also kind of a small role, but impactful, so not a lot of screen time. Selena Gomez and Emilia Perez could get coattailed.
Yeah.
FIFA in Chicago. How do I say this without being a total dick? But I feel like there's a bit of a hurdle to get over in being Selena Gomez.
Same.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or are they going to take her seriously the way they're going to take Zoe Saldana seriously? You know what I mean?
Right. No, I was going to say, then there's, for me, the question mark of Wicked. I don't really know what to make of it. I've been reading strong reviews that kind of read like allegedly payola to me. So yes. I don't know what I've actually seen in terms of like clips or, movie stills that were like released. It looks like the Avengers to me, kind of.
It looks like shit.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not really sure. Again, I think it'll blow up at the Globes and win a bunch of stuff there. But then I don't actually know how that's going to translate in terms of the Oscars. If it makes a lot of money, clearly it's going to help because the industry tends to kind of. I think there's been a more concerted effort to actually include successful box office movies into the conversation lately. So if it makes a lot of money, that definitely helps. But I don't know that it's going to be good. I guess that's the that's the kind of like baseline concern that I have with it. Yeah.
And when I say it looks like, I want to clarify. When I say it looks like shit, I'm not talking about the film itself. I'm saying like just visually, the cinematography.
Yeah.
Looks so dreary and terrible.
Yeah.
So the original the early raves that have come out feel like payola to me. They feel like they don't feel real to me. I do think it will be received better than The Color Purple was last year.
Yeah, I think so too.
And it's also a much more beloved musical than The Color Purple was.
Yeah.
And much more known, obviously. I think you're absolutely right. It will rack up like 7-8 Globe nominations. Ariana Grande, I could easily see getting in at the Globes.
Yeah.
But as far as her getting all the way to the Oscars, that's more of an uphill climb. So I think the conversation is going to be around the technical elements of the film.
Yeah.
And so the Defy Gravity is basically the only thing about that musical that people actually really care about and love. So and that's Cynthia Erivo's moment. So we'll see.
I think also probably Emilia Perez's fate is going to dictate how well this does, because I feel like even at the Globes, if Emilia Perez has a really strong showing, that voters will probably tend to go for that over this. Just because it feels like a more important kind of film. If Emilia Perez ends up doing poorly, then I think this will be the sort of like comedy musical movie of the year at the Globes.
Yeah. But I do think I'm jumping ahead, but I do have it in for Best Picture just because of the juggernaut nature of it all and the timing of it. But we'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah.
But I do want to point out, I made what year is it? So I went back a while ago and learned that the last time true musicals have been nominated for Best Picture, when Oliver and Funny Girl were both nominated.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was probably the year that Oliver won. Yeah.
So that's the last time. There's not been two true musicals. So things like Bohemian Rhapsody are not a musical. But 2 true musicals have been nominated for Best Picture. So this year could be the first in 68.
Yeah.
But let's move on to supporting actor, Wicked and all that stuff. But I think it's my turn to go first.
Sure.
So for supporting actor right now, I have Guy Pearce in The Brutalist, Denzel Washington for Gladiator 2, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Yura Borisov for Anora, and Stanley Tucci for Conclave.
So same.
We're the same?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But but I'm not really sold on a couple of these. I think Denzel Washington is probably, again, predicated upon like how well the movie does. He's definitely got the pedigree to just even be like the sole nomination from it, which won't happen. I think it's going to get a bunch of below the line nominations. But I could also see a situation where he just does not get in, and the movie maybe gets in Best Picture and gets, I don't know, editing, cinematography, and that's it.
Yeah, I think I feel comfortable putting him in regardless of the response to Gladiator 2.
I'm not sure if you were talking about it some time ago in terms of like how often does it happen that a sequel, like a straight up sequel, is nominated for best picture, and we were saying obviously The Godfather, but it really hasn't happened a lot.
No, it's rare. The Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, and Return of the King, obviously.
I'm literally thinking of movies that have like part 2 or 2 in the title.
The number 2.
Yeah, I feel like that doesn't really happen that often.
Yeah, Toy Story 3 was nominated.
Yeah.
But you're right, it is very, very rare. Plus, I think we also have to remember it's Ridley Scott. He's been very hit or miss over the latter part of his career. So its viability, I think, as a true contender for big categories is small, and I think its best chance would be supporting actor, but I do think there's some competition that Denzel will have to contend with, particularly Guy Pearce.
Yeah.
Just because Guy Pearce fits the box to me of everyone who ever wins this category.
Could easily win. Yeah.
He's like middle-aged, workhorse actor, underappreciated, etc.
I think at this stage, he's probably the most likely of the list in terms of winning.
I could also see a situation where Kieran Culkin wins a lot of the Critics Awards.
Sure.
That feels like a Critics Awards-y type performance.
Yeah.
But once we get to the televised awards, they go for the older actors.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Culkin is winning the Globe. But
because he won the Globe for Succession, right? So
I just feel like Guy Pearce feels like the more like adult choice in terms of like the Oscars. Obviously, I think we're going to talk about Yura Borisov for the remainder of the season. I've been screaming his name from the rooftop since Compartment Number 6. Mm-hmm. He is one of the greatest actors alive. There's obviously the angle of clearly Russia and situation in terms of like world politics right now. I don't know if the Oscars are really wanting to kind of like get mixed up in all of that, and right. what would it look like to nominate / award a Russian actor right now. That is, I think, definitely going to be part of the conversation or part of the thinking in terms of like people that vote for this stuff. I think on performance alone, he's easily the best performance I've seen all year.
Yeah, I think he's the heart of Anora, and he's the reason Anora really actually works at the level that people are responding to. So
yeah,
I just don't. It's very hard for me to conceptualize Anora being a frontrunner for Best Picture and getting a ton of top level nominations, and him not being a part of that because he is so fundamentally responsible. I think for the success of it.
Yeah, and I think it also helps that he's only in the movie, I think, for the second half, but it is the second half as opposed to the first half, which I think then hurts Edelstein because he kind of sort of like disappears. I think the second half of the movie really establishes him as the sort of like the grounding presence in the story, and he's amazing. So I think that's a good probably pick at this stage. Yeah, I could see it happen.
Yeah. A couple other, I just wanted names I'm going to throw out as potential contenders was Clarence Macklin and Sing Sing. Again, how much traction is Sing Sing going to be able to get? But he could definitely be. He got the Gotham nomination. He could be in the conversation.
Yeah.
There's also always the possibility that 2 Conclave guys get in. John Lithgow also gets in. And then we have Harris Dickinson and Baby Girl. Baby Girl takes off. And then I know there's Edward Norton in A Complete Unknown. I'm like, what is I'm not feeling A Complete Unknown. I keep confusing it with A Different Man.
Same. I just kind of feel like A Complete Unknown is kind of unfortunate as a title for this movie in particular, because there's been so little conversation about it that the movie itself feels like A Complete Unknown.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The only thing I know about it is the pics that came out early in the production of Timothée Chalamet walking across the street in like big scarves.
Same.
It's like, oh, it's a movie where he just walks across the street in scarves. Okay. So I'm not feeling that at all. I feel like it could get lost in the shuffle again of these just like smaller, less buzzed about dramas that are kind of clogging up the back half of these lists.
Yeah.
Let's move on to actor because I want to save actress.
Ooh, okay.
Go for it.
Okay, so this is as usual probably like the hardest category for me to populate. I'm gonna say for now, Adrian Brody, Brutalist, Ray Fiennes for Conclave, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, and then this is where it gets kind of complicated for me. I have like 4 people like filling out the last 2 spots. I think for now I'm gonna say Paul Mescal and Jesse Eisenberg, but I'm not really sold on either.
We have 4 of the 5.
Okay,
I'm right there with you. Where those first 3 I feel confident about, and the last 2 I feel like are just mush. I don't know. It could be anything. So I have Ray Fiennes, Adrian Brody, and Coleman Domingo. And then I have Jesse Eisenberg and Daniel Craig for Queer, though I know Queer is getting mixed reactions.
Yeah.
So if he gets a nomination, I think it'll be more on his star power versus the performance. But also this category is, looking at it, it's pretty shallow. I keep seeing like Glenn Powell for Hitman on people's like list.
Josh Hartnett for Trap.
It's like, those, I haven't seen Trap. I saw Hitman. Like, it's a good performance, but it's not the type of performance you would normally consider anywhere near an Oscar.
So same for Trap. I've seen the movie. It is not a good movie. He's perfectly fine in it, but it's not, I think, a performance in a different year we'd be highlighting. Yeah.
So then I think for me the question became, as I was reading through this, is like, what am I missing? Like, who am I not seeing in these long lists of possibilities? This is a random out there, but Nicholas Hoult for juror number 2. Just based on how Clint Eastwood has gotten actors in at the last minute before. Like Bradley Cooper for American Sniper. That's one that could, even though they did everything they could to bury that movie, it could still potentially yield a nomination for Nicholas, considering how anemic the category is. And then John David Washington for The Piano Lesson, though I don't feel like much of the conversation is around him. It's more around Daniel Deadwyler. So
there's a couple of performances in biopics that I also have in my list, but I don't really know what to make of them. One is Kingsley Ben-Adir for the Bob Marley movie that just got shed on in terms of the release date. But
it wasn't just a trailer that played forever.
It feels like it's been out for like 7 years at this point. and the other would be our old friend Timothée Chalamet. But again, like the movie is just such a question mark that
I could see a way that Tourniquet Clementine gets in. But again, I just feel like that movie, I feel like we've had these Bob Dylan movies. Like, does anyone really right now? What else is there to be said about Bob Dylan? You know, one other name, Ethan Harris for Nickel Boys. If Nickel Boys becomes a big contender, though, it doesn't seem like. Again, it's more of an ensemble. Yeah. Versus individual performances that are being singled out. Yeah. But that's just a possibility. And then Sebastian Stan for Different Man. That's another movie.
That's the last person I wanted to talk about. Yeah. I just feel like A24 is mostly going to push the Brutalist, and that might hurt other contenders, even like Sing Sing, even Queer. Yeah. That are in the A24 roster but are not going to get the same kind of push or exposure.
Right. Yeah. I just don't see anyone talking about Sebastian Stan now. Yeah. But again, a pretty anemic category. Yeah. But let's move to actress, which feels like it is much more robust.
I just wanted to say one last thing. The only thing that's going to really make it exciting is if Brody and Fine becomes like a 2-horse race, and we don't know who's going to win until the end.
I could absolutely see that.
That would be, I think, fun for me. I like both of them, and I would not be against Brody heading to Oscars, and I wouldn't be against, obviously, Ray Fiennes finally winning one. So that could be the what turns the category around for me a little bit. Yeah.
Adrian Brody becoming the male Hilary Swank. You love to see it. But it is exciting that he's back in the conversation. It's always it feels confirming when someone who did such an amazing job with their original Oscar win gets a second chance. Yeah. Let's go to actress. I think it's my turn.
Okay.
So I have Mikey Madison for Anora, Angelina Jolie for Maria, Demi Moore for The Substance, Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Hard Truths, and I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm going to say Cynthia Erivo for Wicked.
Okay. Because it's possible, for sure. So I have Madison, I have Kidman, I have Gascon, I have Jean-Baptiste, and I have Fernanda Torres.
Oh, nice.
For now.
Yeah. I love that we don't have very many overlapping, because I think that just speaks to how many possibilities there are. Yeah,
I realize that Angelina Jolie with Maria is huge Oscar bait. I'm not entirely sold on her getting in. Although the other two actresses from his trilogy of biopics both made it in. Yeah, one of them in particular against the odds, I would say. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the pedigree of Angelina Jolie plus Marie Callas plus Pablo Larraín, even if it's a Spencer situation where it's not fully loved. Yeah, I think can get her in.
Did you say you have Gascon in or no?
I do not.
Okay. What's the reasoning behind that?
The reasoning behind that is she's probably on my six. She's probably number 6, I would say. I think while it'd be incredible if she was in, I don't think Amelia Perez is going to be as. I don't think it's going to be the Oscar hit that people assumed out of Cannes. Yeah, and I think with all the energy around Zoe Saldana and just how stacked this category is, how steep the competition is, I think it's a big uphill climb for her.
I also feel like, and I feel like we should say this from the perspective of two people who obviously support trans people, that a lot of people might not vote for her on the basis that she's a trans woman.
Yeah, I think there's people who will openly embrace that, and they should. Sure. Do you think there's going to be people who
openly yes, I didn't vote for her because of this? Yeah.
The Alison Lohmans of the world.
Yeah.
who will not.
Yeah.
It would be great. It would be groundbreaking. It would be an incredible nomination if it happened, especially in the face of what the world's going to be like come March. But it's precarious in my mind. Whether
I feel like even if I don't like the movie, which I don't think I'm going to like, that I'm kind of hoping that she gets in. Just in terms of like that nomination working as a statement in support of trans rights and trans women in particular. Yeah.
And I really think Nicole Kidman, Baby Girl, definitely has a chance. The reason putting Erivo in for Wicked is just the movie's going to be inescapable. It's the Tony-winning role. It has the song, and Oscars love to nominate big musical moments, I would say.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, what gave her the edge for me. And I think it's also the unknown quantity of Baby Girl, if it will be in the conversation outside of just Nicole Kidman. Because I think we've seen Nicole Kidman get close before.
Sure.
And not make it when her film is not in the conversation for anything else, really. I'm thinking like Earth. But again, it could definitely be a film that gets more embraced outside of just her, and that definitely strengthens her chance.
I feel like the fact that it got in for Best Feature of the Gothams signals that the movie itself could gain some traction outside of her. But it also feels like, again, one of those movies on the A24 roster that have kind of like just like one tier below the real heavy hitters like The Brutalist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm bullish on, again, Marianne Jean-Baptiste, because even if she's not, I think she'll do well in the Critics Awards. I could see her not showing up at the Globes. I don't actually expect her, unless she's winning a ton, I could easily see her not showing up at SAG, but she absolutely will show up at BAFTA.
I have her winning BAFTA at this stage.
And she could I think she'd be a front runner to win BAFTA.
Yeah.
So that to me is what's going to be strong enough to carry her in, just based on the track record of BAFTA recently. I think Amy Adams and Night Bitch, like
that happened.
Good try. Thank you. Saoirse Ronan in The Outrun.
It feels like a role that they might like, but it's kind of like another movie that for me just kind of like happened.
Yeah, to me, it's like what this year's shaping up to be in this category for me is like we have a lot of really exciting, unique performances that are in the conversation, and then we have something like I've not seen it. It could be fantastic, but we're gonna have 75 more Saoirse Ronans in The Outrun before her career is over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not going to get another Substance. We're not going to get another Carlos Sofia Gaston and Amelia Perez. We're not going to get another Pamela Anderson in The Last Showgirl, even though she's a very long shot. Like, there's just so many more interesting performances on paper than that.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time embracing it at this point.
Yeah. I kind of completely agree. And also, I feel like if Ronan gets in, she would be the sole nominee from the movie. Which, you know, we've seen that happen in this category, but it's started to happen like less and less over the last few years. And then like in a year where there's like high profile contenders in movies that will also probably get nominated for picture, that I think is that I think definitely plays against her. Yeah,
I would agree. And I think she could even be this, if she gets nominated for Blitz and supporting, I feel like she could be the only nominee from that film, or the only nomination for that film. So she has the potential to get double nominated and be the only nominee for both films.
I feel like Blitz is a little more likely to get other nominations below the line compared to the Outrun.
So that's really interesting. Any other names that we haven't talked about?
I guess Tilda Swinton is part of the conversation, as every actress in an Almodovar movie is in any given year. Same with Julianne Moore. Some people are thinking Zendaya could do something.
You can see Zendaya. Are they running Challengers comedy or drama at the Globes? Do you know?
Unclear.
If they run a drama, I could see her getting in. I feel like the comedy side is so stacked right now.
Yeah. I think I was going to say, I think if it's comedy, then it'd be a tall hurdle to clear. Yeah.
Which brings me to my other point. I'm fully expecting a Kate Winslet Lee nomination at the Globes in drama.
Okay.
Just based on how comedy heavy the category is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they love Kate Winslet. So we just got I'm making peace with that now so it doesn't hurt me later.
Yeah, no, fair.
Should we move on to director?
Let's do it.
All right. So we are to the top two categories. Best director.
Yeah.
Interesting. We just came off a category that has a ton of possibilities. This feels a little tighter to me, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. In terms of people that I'm pretty sure are going to actually get nominated, I have Edward Berger for Conclave and Sean Baker for Anora. Then people that I think are likely to get nominated, Brady Corbett for The Brutalist, and just under that, probably Jacques Audiard for Emilia Perez. And then spot number 5 is just really, really tough. I'm going to go with Mohamed Rasuluf for Seed of the Sacred Fig for now. It feels like there's always like a foreign film like director nominee in here, but not sure. Yeah.
We have 4 of the 5.
Okay.
So I have Berger, Baker, and Corbett as my top 3. I think those are pretty solid in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And for the last 2, I have Mohamed Rasuluf for the Seed of the Sacred Fig. I think, again, directors love to single out a foreign director or foreign language director, a non-English language speaking director. And then my 5th, again, at this point, I'm bullish on Dune 2, so I'm putting Denis Villeneuve in the 5th, just based on how well Dune did the first time at the Oscars, and Dune 2 got better reviews and better box office. Yeah. So that being said, that's my shakiest by far nomination prediction.
Well, I have Villeneuve in 6 essentially at this point. So I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I think Jacques Audiard for Emilia Perez is a possibility. I think my gut feeling says Emilia Perez is not going to be the awards darling that it needs to be. So I think he'll kind of slowly fade from that conversation a bit. And then Ramel Ross for Nickel Boys is also a possibility, depending on the tracks that Nickel Boys can create, especially considering the kind of the surrealist nature, I guess, of the film from what I've read. Yeah. Or the experimental nature. Yeah. So that could play in his favor. But those are definitely big question marks for me right now.
Yeah, and honestly, I had a hard time thinking of other names. I quote unquote shortlisted Almodovar. I have also Steve McQueen in there, James Mangold, even Ridley Scott I put in. But I don't really buy into the notion that any of them could really get nominated.
Yeah, I could see a path for Jesse Eisenberg in A Real Pain if that film really takes off, but that would be, I think, that's a hard sell even if it does take off, because it feels like much more a writer's film. Yeah. I forgot to mention Jennifer Grey from A Real Pain. If supporting actress is a Ghost Town, I know she doesn't have a huge role, but she's got good notices. Yeah. Wouldn't it be so cool if Jennifer Grey came back and got an Oscar nomination?
Yeah.
You never know.
Nobody's big corner.
It's interesting because I feel like a lot of directors have kind of fallen off that might have been original contenders, like Todd Phillips. Yeah. Francis Ford Coppola obviously is not getting anywhere near the Oscars. No. But just these big names that were brought up on lists early in the year are now falling to the side. Yorgos Lanthimos for Kinds of Kindness we won't see him.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think everyone's okay with that.
What do you think about Fargia, and sort of where would you place her?
Oh, I would love for her to get nominated. I thought she did an incredible job. Yeah. If the film gets a lot of love and can get itself into Best Picture, which is a long shot, but I think there's a path for it. Yeah. The fact that there are no other female directors right now anywhere near the conversation
No.
plays in her favor.
Yeah.
So I would put her in my maybe like my 9 or my 10, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely possible. I think it's a long shot, but there are things that help her. Plus, she's French, and when French people direct a movie, it's automatically considered like twice as important.
Yeah. So there's that. we got a French female director nominated just last year. So
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's those last 2 slots we'll have to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
All right, it is time now for the biggin, Best Picture. So we're locked to 10. We've mentioned a lot of different names of films. Here's where I'm at. I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll break this up into like the ones I think are very likely.
Okay.
Most locked, the ones I'm feeling strong about, and then the ones I'm like, these are definitely the most precarious. But the ones I feel absolutely are in the conversation for Best Picture are Conclave, Anora, and The Brutalist.
Yeah.
I feel like Nickel Boys, A Real Pain, Amelia Perez, and Dune 2 are like my middle section.
Okay.
That I feel strongly about, but anything could happen. And then my final 3, I have Wicked, I have The Seed of the Sacred Fig, and I keep going back and forth. I'm going to say Sing Sing for now.
We have a lot of overlap. So I have Conclave, Anora, Brutalist. I have Dune Part 2 in there. Amelia Perez. I have Nickel Boys and Sing Sing. And then for the last 3, that's where it got kind of like dicey for me. I put in September 5. I put in The Seed of the Sacred Fig. And I'm kind of thinking that A Real Pain could sneak in, but question mark next to it.
Yeah, it's one of those films that to me feels primed to be really embraced.
Yeah.
But outside of Kieran Culkin, I could also see where it just kind of becomes the Kieran Culkin
show. Yeah.
Where everything else about the film gets forgotten in favor of just focusing on Kieran Culkin.
Yeah.
I feel reasonably bullish on it right now, but again, we'll see.
What do you think is going to win?
What I think is going to win?
Yeah.
I think it's going to come down between Conclave and Anora.
Okay.
I think I would give Conclave seems the safe choice, but I'm going to give Anora the edge for now.
Okay.
Just because I think it has, I don't know, an energy to it that Conclave, people seem to really like Conclave, but Anora seems to be really delighting people. The Brutalist, to me, on paper, seems like it would be the obvious choice, but it's the runtime that gets me. If Brutalist wins, it'll beat Gone with the Wind as the longest Best Picture winner by 1 minute. It's 3 hours and 55 minutes. So
at this stage, that's what I think is going to happen. I have the Brutalist winning.
Oh, you do? Yeah, I think the length of it is going to be a hurdle that it has to get over.
Yeah. But I mean, at a point in time where we see the nominations and I don't know, it gets in for picture, director, actor, supporting actress, screenplay, then it means that it did clear the hurdle, I think.
This new 10 nominee category means that any film needs less. It only needs theoretically 11% of the nominations.
Yeah.
Or, like it needs a very low percentage of votes to actually win Best Picture, which is why I think we've been seeing some unusual or very different type of films winning, like Coda and such.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. The runtime may be a hurdle for a lot of people, but if there's enough people that it's not a hurdle for, it could still absolutely win.
Yeah, I would say if like A Real Pain was 4 hours long, I would say no chance. But The Brutalist has a more, I think, important profile to it, where I think it matters less.
Yeah, it has a sense of epicness, which always plays in favor of Best Picture winner. And coming off the heels of Oppenheimer, for sure, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be people that they're going to be like, yeah, this should have been a miniseries. But then again, Oppenheimer, also really long, ended up like almost sweeping last year. So
yeah, Yeah, it's interesting. I guess when my brain looks at it now is like Conclave is the movie I think a lot of people will like, but I don't know if it has the greatness to it that will push people into voting for Best Picture. Anora, I think definitely people think has that greatness. Not everyone agrees, but I think people definitely do. And The Brutalist is definitely, I think, a film where a certain segment of the voting block is going to really embrace it as a monumental achievement.
I feel like, in a way, Conclave sort of suffers the same issue that Emilia Perez suffers from in terms of it's very divisive in terms of the ending, and there's a lot of Catholics who just did not appreciate this movie even getting made. So, yeah.
It's not accurately cunty. Its cuntiness is not accurate.
Well, I mean, there's a plot twist at the end that I think a lot of people of faith found to be, well, let's say took exception to. Yeah.
Okay. The other films that we haven't mentioned that could sneak in, I'm thinking like The Piano Lesson, if that gains traction. The Substance is an outside possibility.
Yeah.
But anything that we think we could be missing?
Baby Girl, I think to some extent. Challengers, I think to some extent. All We Imagine is light because it did so well at Cannes, and then there was some discourse about the fact that it didn't get submitted for foreign film. The Piano Lesson, also to some degree. A Different Man, I think we also talked about. But then I think that's about it.
Even though we haven't had any of the major awards yet or any of the major critics awards, it still feels like it's starting to coalesce.
Yeah.
I see about 7-ish films that feel very, very solid.
Yeah.
For sure. We're agreed on Conclave, Anora, and The Brutalist, but
yeah.
So there's just a few spots open, I think, for the rest.
It's going to be one of those three, I think, for the win. Though, I mean, obviously it's October, but I think something really shocking would need to happen for another movie to sneak in that's not Conclave or Anora or The Brutalist.
And I wonder, I'm curious, I can't think off the top of my head, but when was the last time a Cannes winner won Best Picture? Parasite in 2019.
Okay.
And then before that, though, Marty.
I would say that The Pianist probably came really close, but as I'm like scrolling.
Yeah, so it's happened. Looks like it's only happened twice. So if Anora wins, that would be
the third time.
Wow. We have a lot coming up. We'll be back after that first. What's the awards calendar look like, actually?
Gotham's obviously already came out. Actually, the Globes, the voting starts on November 26th. And then I think the first major Critics Association that's going to announce is New York on the 3rd of December.
And then NBR is the 4th. So we'll be back early December after those two awards bodies announce and see what's changed, if anything.
Yeah. I think a lot will have changed. Yeah.
A lot will have changed. Chris Ronan, the Outrun, wins every award.
And then maybe by December, you or Borisov will have supporting actor locked up.
Yes. Oh my gosh. What a dream it would be.
Why not? Yeah.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening and watching.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye.